You're gonna be just fine.
I just talk.
Listen to them, children of the night.
Sic transit gloria.
Thrill me.
Hello everyone, welcome to Kill the Cast. My name is Jerry, and joining me as always is the ever-quotable Jay.
We're gonna need a bigger franchise.
You were worried about me stepping on your thing, and your quote is a new one.
Yeah, but sometimes, last time, just that one time. You know.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was say your quote again, real quick?
I said we're gonna need a bigger franchise instead of a bigger boat because we're doing the sequels to Jaws. But now that I've had to explain the joke, it's not funny to anybody.
Well, no, I like the quote that Brody says is not "we're," it's "you're." It's a common misconception. People say we're gonna need a bigger boat when it's
either
you're
way.
gonna need a bigger boat.
Well, you're gonna need a bigger franchise.
Yeah, I mean, I still like it because it works because it's weird as in us. But, you know, why not educate when you can? And then, of course, joining us is the Silent Hill biker himself, Kenneth.
Here we go. Let's talk about one shitty movie and then one movie that actually goddamn turned out to be very good when I actually took the time to watch it.
Is all my pleading to the masses actually working? We will find out. Okay, so if you don't know already, we are doing Horror Coliseum Jaws 3D versus Jaws the Revenge. But before we get into that, we are going to get into what we've been doing this week. Jay, what have you been doing this week?
Getting ready to move, so that's fun.
Exciting.
I watched the Banana Splits movie last night. That was pretty good fun. Practical effects, cheesy splatter kind of flick. So that was fun. But that's pretty much it.
All right. Kenneth, what about you?
Not really a whole lot. Just working, stuff like that. I watched Brightburn.
Oh, it's so good.
I actually really enjoyed it. And I also watched the Curse of La Llorona.
Yeah,
I haven't watched that
my Corona.
You know, I actually started singing that when they started saying it in the movie. But yeah, I watched both of those, and Brightburn was definitely a better movie. The Curse was okay. I really liked the way that they, did the look of her, which always looks pretty good in fucking the Conjuring universe movies. But I don't know. I kind of feel the same way about this one as I did The Nun. You know what I'm saying? Because both of them were kind of like, for offshoot movies, they're okay. They're pretty good, but for the most part, they don't hold up to the Conjuring movies. So, and I'm also looking forward to seeing the third one, the third Conjuring.
Dope. I'm currently sick, as I'm sure most anyone who's listening to this can tell. But I'm surviving. I'm making it. I recorded this morning for Psychosemantic podcast, so I spent the entire week jumping between Jaws 3 and 4 research and research on the Franklin cover-up and that whole child prostitution ring and Jeffrey Epstein stuff. So my week has been dark, to say the least. But it's all done now. Today I get it all out of my system. No more shitty shark movies. No more fucking child rape. None of that. It's all going to be fucking flushed out of my system. I spent yesterday sick as fuck watching classic Universal monster movies like Revenge of the Creature and The Mummy's Hand. So that was fucking dope. Go ahead.
I revisited Lake Placid. The first one.
How was that?
I actually really enjoyed that movie. I started watching the second one, and after I got done with that one, I started watching the second one. I got about 20 minutes into it and cut it off.
Yeah. None of the sequels are very fucking good, but the first one's super good. It's so funny.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I got into an argument with Reese earlier this week, and she threatened to say Jaws 30 is great while we were having sex.
Oh.
So we did not have sex.
Damn, that must have just killed it right there.
For real, I was like, bitch, don't play with me. Also, guys, if y'all are into fucking mobile apps, there's a new mobile app for podcasts called Flick Chat, where you can go on there, and it's like kind of like a message board for like specifically like for specific podcasts, and you can join ours by downloading the Flick Chat app, and yeah, I know, Flick Chat at Flick Chat at fuck it
Flick Chat app.
Flick Chat app. And
There you go.
the join code for us is killthecast, all put together as one word. You can check that shit out. We've been on there talking with people. I don't know. Oh, sorry. I got sent a message and I was like, I don't know what you're showing me. And then I figured it out. I'm kind of dumb right now. You know, y'all remember back when we did
Brain scan.
brain scan, I was all fucked up on NyQuil.
Yeah.
Part 2, baby.
Oh, except you care about this topic. This is gonna be a good episode.
I fucking care so goddamn much.
Yeah, and you're not really coughing this time.
Yeah, I don't have much of a cough. It's kind of there every once in a while, but it's more like it feels like it's being done to make me like scratch my throat or something. I definitely have less of a voice now than I did earlier today. But I'm hoping it just makes me sound sexier.
Absolutely.
So, okay, well, fuck. With that being said, we're getting into our fucking Horror Coliseum. It's Jaws 3D time. Came out in 1983. The son of Police Chief Brody must protect customers at a SeaWorld theme park after a 35-foot shark becomes trapped in the park with them. It's got a 3.7 IMDb rating. Has famous people such as Dennis Quaid playing Mike Brody, Bess Armstrong playing Dr. Catherine Morgan, the Manimal himself, Cyan McCorkindale, playing Philip Fitzroyce. We also have Louis Gossett Jr. Playing Calvin Bouchard. I don't want to say Philip Fitzjoyce and Calvin Bouchard are the only reason to really watch this movie. Fuck what you heard. So we're gonna get into it.
You can't forget the chick from Back to the Future.
Oh yeah, fucking. She doesn't try to fuck her son in this one, but she does try to fuck a Sean Brody. That would be Leah Thompson as Kellyanne Bukowski.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to start off with Jay, story and script. Go right ahead, sir.
I gave it a 5. The concept is pretty good, but how it proceeds throughout the movie is not very good. Like, I like the idea of them opening a SeaWorld and then there being a shark loose attacking everybody and everything, but I don't know. It just feels like it shouldn't be as boring as it is for the plot that exists, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. Kenneth, what did you get for story script?
Also coming in with a 5. I mean, the whole time I was watching this movie, I was thinking to myself, okay, even though this is a horror movie, this seems like, or supposedly a horror movie, this is like an advertisement for SeaWorld and trying to capitalize on the 3D. So you put the two together and it's like, oh, well, what can we do at SeaWorld? Let's make a Jaws movie. Yeah, that's exactly the way I felt about it.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, I mean, there really wasn't a whole lot of stuff that was fleshed out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, why Mike is there, stuff like that. I mean, the only thing that really rolled over is the fact that Sean's scared of the water. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot of stuff that rolled over from the first two, in my opinion. So I was just like, there was a lot of stuff that I figure when making this movie, they were making it to fucking make money and be an advertisement, like I said, for 3D and fucking, and for SeaWorld. And because of that, there's so much that could have been utilized from the first two movies for a third one, and it wasn't. And that's the reason why I think this story was poor.
I agree with you. I came in at a 4. This shit's just weak. The story, while trying to remain in a realm of reality, constantly breaks it as if no one has any idea what sharks can and can't do. Normally, I would let this go, but the issue is that there is a marine biologist, and it takes place in fucking SeaWorld, where these people would have knowledge. On top of that, a shark doesn't seek revenge for the death of his child. It tries to eat it. The connection of the first two films is also weak, with Brody's son being there and not really, one of them not doing a single fucking thing. It should have been an interesting story, but it's just slow with unlikable characters. And the argument that the shark followed Ellen Brody to the Bahamas from Amity is dumb. Well, it stole it from this flick, as the shark somehow made it to fucking Orlando, which is supposed to be 40 miles from the fucking sea. How come that isn't an issue? At least if we use the psychic shark theory from Revenge, we at least introduce a supernatural element. Here in a movie based in reality with scientists, we just have a shark doing shit it does not do. Period.
Yeah, like even with that, Cheyenne brought up to me the thing about how sensitive sharks' noses are, and it fucking like just busts its nose into all kinds of different shit.
Well, to be fair, sharks do ram shit a lot. But like for instance, the shark bites onto her tank when they're trying to sedate it, Catherine's tank. And the shark would immediately let go because sharks bite on things to see if they're edible. And sharks have a huge distaste for metal. That was pretty well known even in the 80s. And the shark just didn't. But it's not even things like that. It's stupid fucking things like she starts rubbing the shark up and down. That would have torn your fucking hand apart. Shark skin, you can rub them going down, but if you rub them going up, it'll rip your fucking skin apart because your hand apart because their skin is like tiny little fucking teeth.
Oh, okay. So you can't backstroke a shark.
You cannot. You can only forward stroke a shark. You backstroke a shark, you're not going to have a good time.
Can you fuck a shark?
You can fuck a shark, yes. I wouldn't recommend it. But like much like it's rare to actually get a shark attack, it's very rare to be in a spot where you can rape a shark. You are more likely to be raped by a dolphin. As dolphins
I'm getting
rape for
consent
fun.
from the shark.
How are you going to get consent for the shark?
Aquaman.
Oh, but you know what? These dolphins could give consent. They were telling the fucking bitch in the water, no, get out of the shipwreck. No, just fucking chicken. They can give consent, yet dolphins are known to be rapists. So,
yeah, I don't know. Let's just not go ahead and get into a conversation about dolphins. I could go all day about the craziness of that shit.
Fair enough. We will move on to cinematography technical aspects. Jay, go right ahead.
I gave it a 4. And part of this has to do with the special effects that we'll get into later. But, God, those 3D effects were just absolutely terrible and take you right out of the movie immediately. Most of the regular shots of just the humans and whatnot are fine, but there's absolutely nothing that stands out as amazing. There's no shot that made me go, wow, that's a beautiful shot. Because even in shitty movies, I can do that. But there was everything was basically average, and the 3D was garbage and just accidentally takes you out of it terribly. And I did not enjoy those parts.
All right, Kenneth.
I give cinematography a 7, and I generally tend to give movies that have a lot of underwater shots a little bit more, because I know that cinematography for underwater shots is difficult. So I generally tend to, and I agree with Jay, but I'll get into that in the special effects because he's right. A lot of those 3D shots are fucking terrible. But the underwater shots, like the ones when they're in the filtration system and stuff like that, and then some of the other underwater shots and stuff like that. Underwater shots are difficult when it really comes down to it. So I give a couple of extra points for that. So I gave it a 7. And then also the shots of when they're like following the skiers and stuff like that and all the rest of that, man. When you're filming stuff like that, it's not just posting a camera on a tripod and stuff like that. It is difficult. So I give him a 7 on that.
Okay. I'm at a 4. The movie's just not shot well, with most scenes being undercut by lousy shots. Take some of the good shots, like for instance the water skiers. Those look fantastic, but they're undercut by weak shark scenes. Everything just looks awful. And to be fair, John Alves. This is the only movie he ever fucking directed. But he was an assistant director on both Jaws 1 and Jaws 2. He has worked in the fucking art department and as a production designer on big fucking movies. Including like fucking Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Escape from New York. So like, he has some idea what to do with a camera. But he does not know how to fucking direct a movie. A lot of the shots in here just look fucking awful. I don't think the underwater scenes look very good in this movie. I think the only thing that looks good in this movie are the action shots of like the water skiers. Other than that, almost everything looks fucking awful. And I'll kind of get more into why as we get into like pacing and atmosphere. So we'll move on to character and character development. Jay, go ahead.
I gave it a 5. There's characters. I don't know if there's development. Dennis Quaid gets over his fear of the water, or not Dennis Quaid. Sorry, the other guy. I fucking love Dennis Quaid. The other guy who's not Dennis Quaid. He gets over his fear of the water at one point, but that's it. The greedy businessman is still a greedy businessman. The overly curious scientist is still an overly curious scientist. There's nothing going on. The dolphins, I really like the dolphins, so it just lands straight in the middle for me.
All right, Kenneth.
I gave it a 6, and now that I'm thinking about it more, I've been thinking about it since we started. I probably would have came in lower with this, just for the same thing. There's a lot of the scores when I was doing this one that when I was doing Jaws 4, I was very clear on most of the scores that I pulled for that one, but I was very like, I sat and actually thought and was like tapping my pen and shit like that. So I went with a 6 on this one, but I actually wish I'd have done it lower. But because I agree with Jay, there really wasn't a whole lot of character development there. And then, like I said, when we was talking about the story, they underutilized things that they should have used. You know what I'm saying? So I'm stuck with it. It's a 6, but you know what I'm saying? I wish it was lower.
Fair enough. Yeah, I came in at a 4. Jay hit that right on the fucking head. All the characters are basic archetypes. No one has any development from what you first learn of them. It's all one-note flat lines. On top of that, none of them are really likable. The two most enjoyable people in the film are Philip Fitzroyce and Calvin Bouchard. And that's only because they at least have some kind of fucking flair.
Which one is Fitzroyce?
He's the fucking British Steve Irwin.
Right, okay. And
Yeah,
who's the other guy?
Calvin Bouchard is the fancy black guy who runs shit.
Okay. You know how I am with names.
Yeah. They're supposed to be the opposing team from our extremely clean-cut and fucking award for most boring couple ever, Mike and Catherine. Jesus, y'all are boring. Y'all make fucking, like, honestly, I would see, like, fucking someone jacking off to this eating a bowl of white rice and milk.
Ew.
That's how fucking boring these people are.
That's just like fake rice pudding.
Yeah, well, it's fucking mush. It's bland. That's what these characters are. I fucking hate Mike and Catherine in this movie. So goddamn boring. We'll move on to pacing and editing. Jay, go right ahead.
I gave this I really gave it a 6, huh? I gave it a 6. I gave it a 6. I don't know. That should have been a 5.
That sounds like something a drunk person said. Man, I really did that last night. For real?
Yeah.
Shit.
It wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't terrible, but it does take a little while for things to happen. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that one.
Kenneth, you got the answer?
I actually gave this one a 7, and I stand firm on this one.
You know why I gave it a 6 then?
Because damn, when it really comes down to it, I mean, there were some drag along spots because naturally that's the reason why I didn't get a higher score. But for the most part, man, I mean, the movie, it went right along with what was going on. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you had the people there at SeaWorld. Shark starts showing up. Fucking people start dying. They try to figure it out. They realize there's a bigger shark. They keep going. They figure that shit out. A couple of people get eaten, and fucking goddamn, they figure out how to kill the shark, and people get out of the fucking tunnel. I mean, it's pretty linear how everything works.
You ever want to make a movie go faster by gunpoint? That's how I feel about this movie. I gave it a fucking 3. So many times the pacing is just killed by a slow-moving shark that kills any tension that the music is trying to make. On top of that, the editing just seems lazy and lazy with awkward cuts that look like it's trying to hide the shit instead of improve it. I know in special effects movies, a lot of times the editing hides a lot of shit. It's supposed to, that, and now with Blu-ray, we can see every little fucking mistake. So, of course, the sharks aren't going to look quite as good. But in this movie... yeah, I watched it on Blu-ray because
I'm not going to spend the money
lad.
on the... I'm not going to spend the money on a Blu-ray for it.
You know what? The Blu-ray, it does not look good. This movie just doesn't look good. Now, Jaws of Revenge Blu-ray, oh my god, that shit looks so good. Whew. We'll get into that later. But yeah, this movie just seems like all the shark attacks are fucking lame as fuck because the editing sucks on them. It's just those choppy attacks. And don't get me wrong, every Jaws movie does those choppy attacks. But they at least make up for it by giving us some really good attacks. And in this movie, I just feel like it never fucking does. I just feel like it was very lazy editing, and the pacing, while yes, it's an hour-and-a-half movie, it never really seems to actually stop. It basically hides the fact of how slow it is by introducing small problems every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, it's a, call Brody to fix this. Whoop, new problem happened. Up, here we go with this one. That's how it makes you think it's moving along, by giving you stupid little fucking tasks. It's like a movie that, it's like a video game that extends its playtime by giving you fucking fetch quest.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this fucking movie is. It's the fucking movie version of that. Okay, we move into atmosphere. Jay, my boy, go ahead.
So I gave this a 7, and I do have a reason why. Not because there was like good tension throughout, but the atmosphere of a theme park with a guy trying to make money any way he can was pretty accurate. Like it felt like what they were trying to convey. The tension itself was just not there, but everything else was fine. Like you could almost take out the mother shark plot point and rework this as a romantic comedy with very few script changes. But I felt like the overall atmosphere, again, not counting tension, was pretty decent.
All right, Kenneth.
I gave it a 4. I didn't feel like the movie really had any atmosphere to it. I mean, we can go into the tension and everything, but I mean, when it really comes down to it, I don't feel like that anybody did anything to convey any kind of subconscious feeling by what they were doing. I didn't feel that at all. You know, and I've talked about this before when I watch other movies that are like that, you know, like when you take Friday the 13th movies and it's always kind of dark and gritty, fucking the storms that are always happening, you know, because it's always fucking raining when Jason's killing people, you know, shit like that, you know, but this one just didn't seem like it had anything like that. Like when they were making the movie, they didn't sit there and think to themselves, oh, what can we do about making the lighting or anything else like that? No. I didn't.
To me, it feels like they were like, well, we don't have to give it the atmosphere of a theme park because they'll be able to see it. It's like knowing it's a theme park. That's all in scenery and set design. They never really focus in on like what makes this a theme park. Like they have them like kind of like tour some of the things, but basically it's a confusing mess that never seems to ever get going for more than a few seconds. You get your few seconds of, okay, I'm starting to feel like a theme park. Then it's like, we're going to cut it off by doing something dumb in the movie because we got to do some kind of new problem to move the plot along. And it cuts the atmosphere. Take, like the scene with them being trapped underwater, the tourists being trapped underwater.
Mm-hmm.
They just kind of forget about it and we go away from that, and at no point, and we don't go back until the water's dropping. So it never builds tension with them. That would have built the atmosphere in this movie.
Versus like you take the first Jaws movie where they fucking did it perfectly because damn, you know, those really wide shots that they did of like the orca being out on the ocean, you know, even though you got these really wide, vast shots. you still get the atmosphere of fucking of being what's the word I'm looking for, Jerry? Small
Being
spaces.
isolated.
Yeah,
being
yeah.
confined to the ocean.
Right, the isolation of where you're at.
Yeah,
And so
you cannot
get
see
that.
land.
Right, you get the tension build up of where you're at because you're stuck on this boat out in the middle of nowhere. So it's just like you've got that fucking the atmosphere of it weighing down on you because you're like, you know what I'm saying? You're confined to this area. Whereas this, it doesn't do that to me at all. I feel like they're goddamn, somebody went out to fucking goddamn SeaWorld with a camera and there just happened to be a shark there.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of times where like they're like, oh no, there's the mother shark, it's swimming towards us, and then it immediately clips to like the mother shark chasing the skiers.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. It's constantly going, and then same thing it does with the pacing where it tricks you into thinking it's moving along. It just because it's constantly just fucking playing hopscotch and jumping to the next fucking thing. It constantly is getting cut off, bit off, so to speak, by something dumb happening in the movie. That's why I gave the atmosphere 3. I kind of jumped in with Kenneth here, but I gave it a 3. I've seen Nightmare on Elm Street movies make better atmosphere, and that's a fucking deep cut.
By the way, a little offset. I really want to see Kevin Bacon as Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, I'm down. I remember the rumors from a few years ago about Kevin Bacon saying he wanted to do it, and now that Robert Englund's refreshed it by saying I want to see Kevin Bacon do it, I'm like, just fucking do it. Kevin Bacon
I'm
can
totally
do anything.
down. I'm totally down. I really want to see it, but sorry about that.
Well, hold on. Jay, you're a fanboy. Kevin Bacon is Freddy?
But I'm not a fanboy because fanboys are irrational. I'm not irrational.
Well, what do you think?
Yes, I would love to see Kevin Bacon as Freddy. I think he's a fantastic actor.
I think he'd wear it out, man. I think it'd be great.
I really wanted to make fun of Jay for saying he wasn't irrational, but he did take my criticisms of Nightmare pretty fairly, so I can't do it. God damn it. All right. Let's go to a high point of this movie. Scenery and set design, Jay.
Now this I gave an 8 because everything looks the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, Kenneth.
9. I gave it a 9. I mean, it's goddamn SeaWorld, man. And I really liked the effects were shitty, but the set itself, when they go down in the tubes and stuff like that, I like that. I enjoyed it. I like the set design of the entranceway down into the fucking tubes. I thought that was really cool. Just about everything about it. I mean, fucking, it's shot at SeaWorld. The sets were great. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it looks like a fucking theme park.
Yep, I gave it an 8. To me, it's like the one good thing of this movie, based on basically jumping on to what they said and saying, yeah, SeaWorld's cool as shit. Great place. All right. Acting. Jay, go ahead.
I gave acting a 7. I really like Dennis Quaid. So I'm kind of biased when it comes to him. I tried to be as unbiased as possible, but I didn't really have an issue with any of the acting. Nothing was like, oh my God, amazing. But I think Dennis Quaid had as much fun with this movie as you can.
Yeah, I think all the actors are having a lot of fucking fun.
I enjoyed his acting in general. Louis Gossett Jr. looked like he was having fun too. That was a terrible accent though. I don't know. Maybe it's super accurate, but it came off more annoying, kind of like Nicolas Cage in Con Air.
Oh, you're talking about fucking.
It just didn't sound right. The Southern Louisiana style.
Man, that shit was pimp. Get out of here.
Okay, well,
shit was
either
balling.
way, that's a 7. That's why.
I loved it. I know black dudes that talk like that, and it's fucking awesome. I'm pretty sure Kenneth does also. Kenneth, what do you got?
I gave it an 8. I didn't think the acting was bad at all. I really enjoyed Dennis Quaid. The black guy was amazing. He fucking cracked me up the whole time. I loved it. I thought everybody did a good job on the acting. I mean, shit, they looked like they had a good time. I never got pulled out of the movie because of that. I got pulled out of the movie because of various other things, but not because of that. So I gave the acting an 8. I thought they did pretty good.
Yeah, I gave it a 7, and shout out to Simon McCorkindale, a.k.a. Manimal, a.k.a. Philip Fitzroyce, for just being ballin'. And I liked his fucking partner that kept calling him Governor. When it's like, well, blah, 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 we're going to kill the fish. Well, we're going to save it. Well, not if my governor gets to it first. That is like, yeah, bruh. Get it. I love it. So yeah, I gave it a 7. Classic hand job. No real bad acting. Nothing really great. But I really enjoyed the acting for what it is. there's no Oscar-winning performance here, but at least no one is on top of a bad script, on top of bad special effects, on top of mediocre dialogue. At least none of the acting is actually bad, so that's good.
Before we move on, I want to bring up something real quick. You made a comment just a minute ago about no Oscar-winning performances, and granted, I agree with you. There weren't any Oscar-winning performances in this, but the fucked up thing about it was I was listening to something the other day, and it irritates me that we don't get awards and things like that for some of the acting in some of the horror movies we watch. Because some of the ones that we watch, man, the acting is fucking phenomenal. And I don't think it gets enough. I don't think horror movies get the credit that they deserve. And I never really thought about it, until I was listening to that podcast the other day. And I was like, holy shit, you're right. And there's some really, really fucking amazing acting. And it's the same thing when I was watching Curse of La Llorona earlier. There was some good acting in that. There was one scene that was fucking awesome, and it was a mom upset about her children. And I'm just like, God damn, you know what I'm saying? But nobody will ever fucking damn put that in any kind of running whatsoever for any kind of award based on that woman's acting. And it was phenomenal.
Yeah, you have to cut the horror with something else for it to even get seen. Look at like Silence of the Lambs being called a thriller. Look at Get Out being put in the comedy section like it's some fucking dark comedy. It's not at all. Just because a black dude makes a joke doesn't mean it's a fucking comedy. You fucking racist Oscars.
Yeah, because Get Out was
Shape of Water uses horror elements as a romance movie. It's kind of like how when Dracula came out and they sold that as a horror romance. That's kind of what you have with Shape of Water.
I still haven't watched that.
Oh my god, it's so good. I you know what? I need to put the code on my Vudu because I have the code for the Blu-ray. It is it deserves everything it got. It is such a fucking beautiful movie. It is like because there's a dance scene out of nowhere in the movie, and normally I would have been like, what the fuck is this shit? But it just works so well that I can't even complain. Like, the movie is just so fucking good. Like, the only way you hate this movie is if you just don't like romance movies. And even though this romance movie has been put in the suit of horror to give to you, like, oh my god, the actors are so fucking good in it. The characters are fucking just awesome as shit. Oh man, Shape of Water was fucking brilliant. I loved it.
Give it to Guillermo del Toro to make a good movie.
I have not seen it. I do like Del Toro. I just haven't sat down to.
You know what?
Watch it.
It took me forever to watch it because it was just like not at the top of my list. And y'all already know I'm real bad about watching new movies. But after watching it, I felt ashamed for having not watched it earlier.
Well, then, since you say that, as soon as you put it on there, like when we get done, put it on there and I'll watch it tomorrow. But yeah, dude, I mean, and going back to what I was saying, I mean, it's like some of the performances that we see in some of these movies that we watch, especially like when you see parents lose their children or the fear factor of some of the things that they're going through, you know what I'm saying? Like in some of these, hell, you even take a damn creature feature, a Jaws movie, where you got a person that's being mangled by one of these creatures and they're screaming and begging for their life to nobody and things like that. I mean, that's some powerful shit.
Yeah, the fact that Hereditary didn't win anything is bullshit.
Yeah, Hereditary was a fucking phenomenal movie.
It should have got some kind of nomination for acting.
Should have been nominated for Best Actress. 100%, Jay. 100%. All right. Let's get back into it with the favorite category. This one, I can't wait to hear what y'all say about this. Special effects. Kills.
I'm up, huh? All right.
And Gore.
I gave it a solid 5.
Solid 5.
Yeah. Right dead in the center. It's the 3D effects, like I mentioned earlier, are terrible. They shouldn't have. Maybe it looked good back then. I honestly don't know.
It did not. Keep in mind, Friday the 13th Part 3 3D came out the year before this.
So keep in mind, there's no way for me to watch this in 3D because it's not an actual like 3D Blu-ray that would work with a 3D TV.
Mine is.
And I don't have a 3D. I don't have a 3D Blu-ray player or a 3D TV,
so I can't watch it in 3D. But the standalone release of Jaws 3 does have a 3D conversion, but it's not like to put on the red and blue glasses. It's like,
so when
you have to
this
have a
first
legit
came out,
3D.
was it red and blue, or was it the other kind?
I think so.
Last time?
I read somewhere that it was, but also like that they used 3 different 3D setups because the first one kind of fucked up, and basically the 3D in this whole movie was fucked up.
It was bad. They the shots that are supposed to be in 3D on purpose to be in 3D pull you immediately out of it. It's bad. I don't know if it looked good in 3D, but it definitely doesn't hold up. At least in Friday the 13th, it doesn't really pull you out. I mean, some of the camera angles are goofy because of it, like when he stabs his machete at the camera and it lingers there, or the the baseball bat, right? That's one of them where the kids are playing.
Yeah, in Friday, it kind of sticks it in your face and it's like, haha, remember it's 3D.
Yeah,
and it's like,
it
okay, that's kind of annoying, but it doesn't take you out of here. And this one, it's 3D where it's like floating your heads, but you can see like the fucking composite lines going around it.
It's bad. Some of the practical effects were okay. It was really a mixed bag. Like a good example is the hand at the beginning. The 3D effects on the hand were fucking terrible, but the actual like prosthetic hand that looks like it was ripped off of a body itself didn't look too bad. But yeah, that's where we land at a 5.
Okay, Kenneth.
Solid 5. It was. I agree. The 3D effects were terrible. I mean, I just don't understand why they would put it out that bad. Especially when you got like you said, Friday the 13th 3D that came out before it. And granted, some of the shots in there aren't the greatest, but at the same time, they're definitely better than this. I think I agree with Jay. Some of the practical effects were pretty good. Like I really enjoyed from a personal level, enjoyed and was freaked out when the British guy gets eaten. You know, because you're looking at it from inside the shark, which I actually kind of enjoyed that. But like I said, that's on a personal level fucked up because that's one of my fears is being eaten whole while you're still alive and basically dying inside the animal.
To be honest, that's the best kill in the movie.
Right.
And that's not saying much.
But yeah, I mean, so I've always like the first time that ever occurred to me was the first time that I watched Anaconda.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, you know, and the digital effects in Anaconda wasn't the greatest either. But the point is that damn being swallowed whole, still alive and suffocating or starting to be digested or whatever while you're inside of this creature. Yeah, no Geppetto action for me, dude. So, but that was probably it. So yeah, solid 5. I mean, the fucking 3D effects ruin it. They really do. And then also on top of that, the fucking, I mean, we can kind of, we'll put the special effects for the shark itself on this. It looks fucking terrible too. I mean, not just the 3D effects, but the look of the shark itself. I mean, it looks like a fucking rubber shark being pulled through the water.
Yeah, so I came in a 4. Man, they fucked up every single kill in this movie. Like, none of them are that exciting. The best death is Fitzroy's being, like, crushed inside the mouth. But I've never understood, like, if he's stuck in the mouth, how did the shark eat the black dude later on? Wouldn't that, like, did he just spit the guy? Oh, fuck, I can't swallow him, but I got something stuck in my throat. Better spit him out and try to go for more. Doesn't really make any fucking sense. But they're all bland. Like, honestly, my favorite kill in the movie is, like, an off-screen kill, but I thought it was kind of cool how they did it. When the 2 scuba divers who are there to steal coral, when one of them, the light just disappears. I thought that was really fucking cool. But that's not a special effect. They just really turn off a light. So everything in this movie is bland. The movie has some of the worst fucking composite shots I've ever seen. The shark looks horrible. Hell, that baby shark looks like it's just a fucking model they're pulling with a string.
That's what I said. That's exactly what I said.
Yeah,
it looks like a rubber shark being pulled through the water. It's awful.
Yeah, when the shark fucking shows up for the first time when they're diving in the ship looking for Overman's body, and it just kind of fucking rams and then bounces back. It's just like, oh my god, it looks so fucking terrible. The only time the baby shark actually looks good is when they're transporting it in the air. Then it actually looks like a shark. But as soon as they put it in like the kiddie pool to like walk it around, which scientifically is accurate, you would walk it around the water to get it swimming, though it would have already been dead from you carrying it outside of water for that long.
Yeah, I mean, there was just a lot of things.
Yeah,
There's a lot of things. But the look of dude's body.
Oh, yeah. So all full points go to Shelby Overman. Whether it was his arm or his body when they're at the autopsy table, that is really the only time that we get good gore. And in fact, because of that scene, this is considered the goriest and bloodiest movie in the franchise. And I feel like that all goes to waste when you realize that besides the Shelby Overman stuff, it's all just blood clouds.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, but awful 3D, awful composite shots. Everything looks fucking fake in this movie. The composite shots in fucking done with like an optical printer in the 50s looked better than this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just awful. So we'll move on to Monster Killer. Go ahead, Jay.
Monster Killer. No. I gave it a 7 because it's a shark. That has nothing to do with the effects or the reasoning behind the shark attack. It's simply because it's a shark and sharks are cool. 7 for it being a shark.
Okay, Kenneth.
I gave it a 3. I did not like it. I didn't like the way it looked. I didn't like its movements. I didn't like anything about the fucking shark. I just gave it a 3 because it was a shark. That's
okay.
it.
I gave it a 5. The shark just has no personality in this movie. It's dull, and it's the slowest shark I've ever seen, so it gets a 5. Hero, Jay.
What did I give Hero? I gave Hero a 7 because the dolphins are badass. 7 for the
you gave it
badass
to the
dolphins. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm sorry. That maybe this shouldn't count, but I had to throw a little bit of a funny in there.
I'll allow it. Kenneth.
I gave the Hero a 6, and I could not decide who I wanted to go with. And I'm with Jay on this. Whether it was the Dolphins or whether it was Dennis Quaid or any of the rest of them, or I really couldn't, choose a solid one. So I just kind of pulled Dennis Quaid out of the hat, out of the 3, because I even counted his old lady in there. And so I was just like, okay, who am I going to choose? Who am I going to choose? And I kind of eeny, miny, miny, moan it. And he turned out to be the one, so I gave him a 6.
All right. I gave it a 4 for both Michael and Catherine being the most boring hero couple to ever be on fucking screen. Thank you. Next. Score, soundtrack, design, Jay.
6. Nothing stood out. Nothing was annoying. Me and music and soundtracks.
That's fair. Kenneth.
Gave it a 7 just because it had some classic Jaws shit in it. Other than that, there wasn't really nothing spectacular.
I also gave it a 7, that classic hand job. The soundtrack is good, and there is some great sound design. It's just unfortunately all undercut by not matching what's on screen. Exciting music on top of very fucking dull shots of a slow-moving shark. So, honestly, the music's very strong, and it's just so undercut by what we're seeing on screen. Jay's favorite category, scare factor.
I gave it a 6. I don't know. I guess after all the other categories we talked about, that should probably be lower. You guys are right. There's like no tension. I think the most tense moment is when the tubes start to flood and they have to make it to that one room and the doors closing. And that's it. That's probably the most tense thing in this movie. After that, it's like, who the fuck cares? Now they're fine.
And then they shut the doors, forget about them until it's time for the water to go down.
Yep, that is absolutely correct. And even then, that tension is kind of cut by the fucking the special effects. And the guy be like, I need my wallet. It's like, what the fuck are you concerned about a wallet for right now? What are you doing?
For real.
I don't know. That's what we get.
All right, Kenneth.
I came in with a 3 for the scare factor because there really wasn't anything I found scary other than I gave it a 1.5 for the tension in the tube, and I gave it a 1.5 for the dude getting eaten by the shark because that just wigs me out in general. Other than that, nothing else.
All right, I gave it a 5. At no point do I ever really feel a sense of dread, and I should. It's happening in a goddamn theme park. I love theme parks. Remember the dread in a Jurassic Park film? Well, you get none of that here, even with the guests trapped underwater. Hell, it feels like the movie forgets about them. So, yeah, I as you can tell, I wrote down longer things this time because I'm sick and I didn't know how well I do.
This movie?
And I fucking hate this movie. But truly, like I like Jurassic Park scared me more about going to a theme park than Jaws 3 did, and Jurassic Park is like when they just open it up to bring like the fucking backers of the council in to check it out. Like, this is the opening for fucking actual living customers, and they're trapped underwater in a room that's halfway filled with water, and I feel nothing. That should not be happening in a fucking horror movie set in a theme park. It just shouldn't. So, fuck this. Next category, entertainment rewatchability, Jay.
4. So, I watched this once when maybe a couple times when I was younger, because it was on. Yeah, I probably wouldn't rewatch this on purpose unless it was to show somebody else how bad it was. So, 4.
Oh, fuck, I accidentally watched Jaws the 3D.
Oops.
Kenneth, go ahead.
I gave it a 3 because most of the time, even I probably wouldn't rewatch this if it came across on TV, unless somebody else said, like my mom, because she'll leave it on just because it's a Jaws movie. But that would probably be the only time. And I'll be honest with you, unless I got to do it for a podcast again, I'll probably never watch it again.
Yeah, this one for me is a 4. There really isn't any. Maybe if you love 3D, you can have fun with it, but it's just a boring film to me. I'd rather watch Revenge of the Creature if I'm going to watch a monster stalk a aquatic theme park. I remember growing up, this and Revenge and Jaws 2, they would all play all the time on like fucking TBS and TNT and USA, and I'd watch them on there. But when Jaws 3 came on, all of a sudden I had to go do homework.
Right.
So what's weird, it was in the summer. So okay, we move on to pop culture. Jay.
Okay, so I have to preface this score with the fact that I don't really know nothing about no Jaws. I could easily score number 1, but these other movies I'm not in like any Jaws community. I don't discuss them in horror groups. I've never watched 2, and until we watched the movies for this one, I've never watched 4. And again, I only watched 3 because it was on the pay channels when I was younger, and we didn't have Netflix to watch whatever we wanted back then. So I had no idea how to score this, so I just threw it a 5 because I don't know much about the pop culture of it surrounding it, other than people think it's better than 4, which Jerry told me before we recorded this episode.
Yes. And I do want to say, I at no point tried to influence Jay and Kenneth with their scores to make sure that they scored 4 higher than 3 for the record. So if they score 4 higher than 3, I did not pay them with money or blowjobs. Kenneth, what did you give it for pop culture?
I gave it an 8 because from what I understand, this movie when it came out was actually really popular. And the crazy thing about this movie is as bad as it sucks, everybody knows it. You know this movie because it sucks. You know this movie because the how far removed it was from the source material, how far fucking goddamn how shitty that they did with the 3D effects, everything. I mean, when it really comes down to it, the most conversations that people have about the Jaws franchise is either about 1 or 3. You don't really hear a whole lot about 2, and you don't really hear a whole lot about 4. Actually, you hear negative things about 4. But other than that, I mean, the most people talk about it, to me, from what I have gathered, has been from 1 and 3.
All right, so I probably know Jaws the best. I am in 3 different Jaws groups on Facebook. Actively. And I gave this a pop culture of 5. because this one is so overshadowed by the rest of the franchise that it's the least talked about, because most time it's either Jaws is the best or Jaws 4 is the worst. Jaws 3, no one talks about. Jaws 2, no one talks about. Jaws 2 and 3 just do not get talked about. Jaws 2 stands on more ground because it at least has Roy Scheider in it. But, like, you would think Jaws 3 would get talked more about because of the bad effects and the 3D. And, you know, and it being at SeaWorld and all this shit, and it being removed from canon by 4. But every time you bring up how bad Jaws 3 is in a Jaws group, everyone will be quick to jump on you and go, yeah, but Jaws 4 is worse. Like, so fucking much. Like, you would not believe anytime. Like, if you go and watch reviews on YouTube, there are 3 times as many Jaws the Revenge reviews than any other film in the franchise. Jaws, and none of them are actually reviewing Jaws the Revenge. They're just there to make fun of it. And it's funny, if you go and watch the same person review Jaws 3D, they make the exact same fucking complaints about Jaws Revenge for Jaws 3D, but it's less of a fucking problem. It's always pissing me off. But, like, for being in the Jaws community, Jaws 3D just does not get talked about. It's the least talked about in the franchise, in the communities. Which to me is strange, because it is the most different and stand out of the franchise. You know,
yeah, see, I'm not in any of the groups or anything, so the stuff that I know about it, I hardly ever hear people talk about Jaws 4. But that's my personal thing, because I'm not in any of the groups or anything, because I'm not into it as hardcore as you are. So, you know, and so everything that I've always heard is that the first one is fucking awesome and the third one sucks.
Yeah, I would say probably Jaws 2 is the one that gets talked about the least, because it's kind of the most... It's like Jaws on a B budget. You know, and it doesn't have the thing of being like bad or good or anything like that, you know, where Jaws 3 and Jaws 4 at least get it, you know, the whole bad part of it.
And see, I actually enjoyed Jaws 2, even though I think it's pretty much the first movie over again.
Yeah, it's the slasher version.
Yeah.
It's a teen slasher. Jaws 2.
Really?
Yeah, Jaws 2 is a teen slasher. 100%.
A shark movie that's also a slasher?
Yes.
Well, I know what I'm watching.
It's a little slow.
Seen it?
No, I just said I hadn't seen it.
Yeah, no,
my bad.
Yeah, he said he hadn't seen it. He said before this show, he had only seen Jaws 1 and Jaws 3. He had never seen Jaws 2 or Jaws 4, and he still hasn't seen Jaws 2. Because Jay messaged me and was like, do I have to see Jaws 2 to understand Jaws 3 or 4? And I was like, no, you don't. Just understand that the Brody children are there, and that's it.
Yeah, but watch the second one, man. I mean, I actually enjoyed it. Like I said, I mean, it's not as... I think Jerry and I had a conversation about this within the past year or so, where I'd watched the first 2, and because I generally tend to watch the first Jaws movie at least once to twice a year. Same. And I'm always, me and Jerry are always going back and forth about jokes about what's his name, Richard Dreyfuss's character, what's his name,
Hooper.
Yeah, Hooper. You know how we're always making jokes about Hooper and Quint together and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
I can't take this abuse much longer. Yeah, stuff like that.
Kenneth and I use that line to each other anytime we're talking about something and one of us is getting a little nagging. We'll throw that line in there to kind of like be like, okay, next thing.
And it used to not be nothing for me and Jerry to just start break out in songs. Show me the way to go
home. Doom, doom, doom. I'm tired and I want to go to bed.
Right.
Had a little drink about an hour ago and it went straight to my head. I mean, I think everyone knows Jaws is my favorite movie of all time. It's been my favorite movie since I was 4 years old. I have a fucking VHS tape from Kids Print at Blockbuster where I say at 5 years old that my favorite fucking movie is Jaws. I love Jaws.
Yeah, and so
you should rip that footage and upload it to YouTube.
I really want to get the software to do it.
That'd be cool.
I really need to. The only problem is I think I still have a I still have a standalone VHS player. I was about to say my VHS player is built into my TV, but I think I've got a standalone one. And if not, I've got a couple. Goodwill.
But yeah, I mean, so, you know, I watch that one at least once or twice a year. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a really good film. And so, you know, when you get a chance, watch the second one. It was fairly decent.
It can't be worse than the third.
No, it's much better. Man, oh my God, the boat explosion scene in the beginning of the movie, or in the first quarter of the movie. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that was fucking awesome. Okay.
I mean, and it looks the look of Jaws 2 is still got the same feel as the first one.
Yes, it looks just like the first Jaws. It literally has the same look and feel of the first Jaws. It just doesn't have like the epic adventure feeling.
Right. It's still good.
It's more of a Friday the 13th slasher feel.
Yeah. Watch it. It's good.
In the daylight. Okay. Last category we have is representation. This is of the subgenre or horror in a whole. Jay.
Again, this is one that I think I landed a little high on, but it's also a subgenre that I have little to no experience with. So it ended up with a 6, but again, that's with the caveat that it probably shouldn't have.
Fair enough. Why did you give it a 6?
I just felt like in the world of all these shitty sci-fi mega shark style movies, this was at least, like, for all its fault, at least it was a grounded, plausible, minus the actual facts about sharks they got wrong, shark movie. So that's kind of where, you know what I mean?
Gotcha. Okay, Kenneth.
I came in with a 5, and the reason why I did that is kind of the same thing that Jay's saying. I mean, it's not the greatest shark movie in the world by far, but it's also not the shittiest one either. It's definitely a better representation of shark movies than fucking goddamn Sharknado or Three-Headed Shark Attack or whatever the fuck those movies are. So, you know, I think it does a better job at representing the subgenre of Shark Attack movies than those do. So I kind of gave it a 5. I kind of put it in the middle.
Okay, I'm glad both of y'all said this because y'all kind of set me up. I gave it a 4. This is the bottom of the serious shark film. Before the genre breaks off into silliness with Sharknado and how many heads can you fit on this shark movie, what you have here is the worst of the big budget shark movie. It's a whole lot of nothing in a great setting. And here after this movie, we continue to stay in the realm of serious shark movie. Though Jaws 4 is the birth of what would lead us off into the silly genre. So unfortunately, Sharknado and Sharktopus and Three-Headed Shark Attack, all of that births off of Jaws the Revenge. And Jaws 3D is kind of the last of the... Well, not last, because we have Shark Attack 1 and 2 in 1999, which are both serious shark films. And we do continue in the late 90s and early 2000s get serious shark films. But this is definitely the lowest of the we made it to theaters serious shark films.
Right, and I actually like the fact that now we're starting to get like a resurgence of serious shark movies. You know, like with the movie about the girl that gets her arm bit off, and then
The Shallows, yeah,
The
47
Shallows.
Meters Down and The Shallows really rebirthed it. Which I thought we were going to get a rebirth of the serious shark film not too long ago, because Shark Night 3D.
I enjoyed that one.
Is really good. It's more serious than, you know, Three-Headed. It goes more in the vein of Shark Attack 1 and 2. Like, it's fun. Like, it's still fun. It has the fun of like a Lake Placid.
Right. I mean, I enjoyed Shark Night 3D. I thought it was good, but like I said, I mean, now we're really starting to get a better resurgence of serious ones, because, you know, I mean, obviously the first 47 Meters Down did fairly well. You know, I mean, it's open water at the bottom of the ocean, and then you know, now we got a sequel, you know, that's in the theater now. So I think that's a good resurgence of them, and then on top of that with The Shallows, because I actually enjoyed The Shallows. You know, so I like the fact that we are.
I really like this resurgence of serious creature features. I am such a fan of creature features. I love serious creature features, especially when it comes to natural creature features, that I'm really glad it's fucking coming back. All right, so with that being said, here are the breakdowns of scores. I came in the lowest with a 71, no surprise there. Jay came in the highest with 88, and Kenneth came right in the middle, well, actually more just slightly under Jay with an 86. So... all scores are under fucking 90, which says a fucking lot. for this movie to make sure I actually really fucking paid attention and scored this properly to try to take off my bias. I took full on notes like I do because normally with Horror Coliseum I don't take notes. I watch the movie and then immediately do my scores and type everything out. I took notes the entire time for this fucking movie. I could do a whole episode on just this fucking movie.
You could.
Which to me is kind of fucking funny. But I did that for both Jaws the Revenge and Jaws 3D just to make fucking sure. Did you know that supposedly when the shark blows up in Jaws 3D, one of those hunks that flies out is a leather ET doll?
A leather what?
I've never, ever been able to see it. But supposedly one of those chunks that flies out is a leather ET doll.
Oh, a leather ET doll. Okay.
Yeah.
It sounded like you were saying leathery T doll. I'm like, what the fuck is a leathery T doll? What is a T doll? Why is this one made out of leather?
I know talkie so well. Little been sipping hard on the NyQuil there. I'm high as a kite and my teeth are green. Merry fucking Christmas. Shout out to Dennis Leary. We didn't bring it up, but God, how awful is that glass break scene where Jaws breaks through the glass like it's fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin fucking music. Shout out to fucking Dead Meat on YouTube for that reference. Oh my God, it's so fucking bad. Okay, that is Jaws 3D. We are about to run into Jaws the Revenge. Alright, so now we move to the fourth movie in the franchise. We have Jaws the Revenge. This time it's personal. From 1987, Chief Brody's widow believes that her family is deliberately being targeted by another shark in search of revenge. We have Lauren Gary returning as Ellen Brody. We have Lance Guest as Michael Brody, Mario Van Peebles as Jake, Karen Young as Carl Brody, Michael motherfucking Caine as Hoagie. We also have the late Judith Barcy as Thea. She died. She was the girl who was the voice for Ducky in Land Before Time and Anne Marie in All Dogs Go to Heaven. So she's pretty famous for being Ducky mostly. But Lance Guest was one of the pallbearers at her funeral because she died not long after Jaws of Revenge came out.
Wow.
So, very, very sad. So we start with Jaws, and as always, we're going in reversed order because I set myself up to go first for Jaws of Revenge. Sucking nerds. I
knew it.
All right, story script. I gave it a 6. Yeah, it's kind of a stupid story, but if you just accept that this is a supernatural element added to it, and that it's a psychic shark, then you can actually see the themes of grief that come to pass when tragedy haunts you. Because this movie is all about letting a tragedy haunt you. Ellen literally says it to both Hoagie and Michael, how she's no longer going to let tragedy haunt her and keep her down. Like, so if you can just get past the fact that it's a fucking psychic shark, and if you can't tell it's a psychic shark, I don't know how many times Ellen Brody or Michael Brody have to fucking Danny Boyle stare in the fucking horizon like it's The Shining for you to fucking accept it. God damn it. I'm going to be a little mad in this one because it really pisses me off that I made a post about Jaws of Revenge and someone was like, I never even got that it was a psychic shark. How did you not get that the shark's fucking psychic? How did you not? I don't understand how you don't get that in this fucking movie. Even if you think it's stupid, you should be able to get that. Anyway, Kenneth, go ahead.
I got an 8. I actually really like the story.
Okay.
I like the fact that it brought back original characters. It completely omitted 3. I like that. I like the fact that it brought back characters. The fucking the way everybody fit together perfectly. Going back to Amity at the beginning of it was nice. I enjoyed that. Given backstory based on what happened to damn Chief Brody and so on, you know. I thought it was kind of strange that, you know, Chief Brody died the way he died, but yet his son became a cop on the water in Amity and stuff like that, considering all the shit that happened between the two of them and whatever. I thought that was kind of strange, but otherwise, I actually really enjoyed it. I mean, and believe it or not, I actually really like the psychic link between the Brody family and the shark. I actually enjoy it.
I do too.
I think it's a fucking solid story to pick up after where Jaws 2 left off.
All right, now Jay, this is a first time watch for you, so I'm very interested.
It is the first time watch.
What
I gave this a 7. The story is way better than the last story. I picked up on the fact that it was a supernatural movie right from the get-go. I don't know how anybody could have an issue with this when the mom's having like fucking psychic visions and fucking everything else that's going on. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It is the idea of a psychic shark is a little goofy. However, it's executed pretty well throughout. So I definitely a 7. Nice and solid.
So now that that's established, there was an original script for this that got altered heavily, but the novelization of the movie for Jaws of Revenge is based on that script. And in that script, we actually get an explanation for the psychic shark. What happens
Struck by radioactive lightning.
No, Michael Brody actually gets into a fight on the island with a voodoo priest who Michael thinks is scamming poor villagers. And he gets into a fight with him. So the fucking voodoo guy uses a voodoo ritual to take psychic control over a shark and sends the shark after all of Michael Brody's family.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, figure I'd throw that out there. All right, we move on to cinematography, technical aspects. I also gave this 6. I kind of realized I may have went a little bit harder on this movie and slightly underscored because I was trying to take away my bias, and maybe I went a little overboard, but we'll see by what y'all say. I gave it a 6. I feel like this movie is shot really well. There are so many great, colorful looking shots, and I really enjoy a lot of the chase scenes and how they were filmed. There's nothing crazy here, but nothing really looks bad. But there are a lot of shots that kind of do not hide, the cranes and levers and shit that are holding the shark up, unfortunately. So you can kind of see a lot of that in this movie, which is unfortunate. But I still think it's shot really fucking well, and I think the movie is just a very beautiful looking movie. Kenneth?
I gave it a 7. Actually, I really didn't catch a lot of that stuff that you're talking about when I was watching it. I actually really enjoyed watching this, to tell you the truth. I had watched it before, but I actually really did. I gave the cinematography a 7. I actually really enjoyed it. This movie felt like a Jaws movie.
At minimum, it feels like a shark movie.
Well, to me, it felt like a Jaws movie. I mean, it didn't have the gritty, grainy look of the first two, but it felt like a 90s Jaws movie. I mean, when did this movie come out?
87.
Okay, to me, it felt like goddamn. To me, it felt like it came out like in the beginning of the 90s. It had that kind of look to it.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? But that's exactly what it felt like. It felt like a Jaws movie to me that came out in the early 90s. That's what it looked like.
It kind of has a high budget, made for TV feel.
Right. And so it looked good. I thought the cinematography was good. I liked the underwater shots. I really like those. The coral, when he's down there and he's fucking around with the snails.
Yeah.
That being inside the ship when the shark's coming at him. The shots that were done for that. So I actually really like it.
But there's a lot of like telling stuff, like at the end of the movie when they're all in the water after the shark's dead and he's like swimming over to Jake. In the background, you can see the water lapping up against the sky wall. Very clearly.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that.
I didn't either.
That's good. Well, I mean,
again, this is my first time watching it, so of course I'm paying attention to what the action is.
Yeah, this is my second most watched Jaws film, so because I really enjoy it. Okay, fair enough. Jay, cinematography, technical aspects. What you
got? 7. It was again way better than the other one. The underwater shots especially were just absolutely gorgeous. I loved it. I mean, obviously it wasn't like mind blowing because of the 7, but everything, it was just solid all the way around. Nothing felt annoying or off about any of it, and the underwater stuff was really good.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, character development. I gave it an 8. This is where the movie shines for me. Really solid, enjoyable, realistic characters. Even in the tragedy of loss, they must continue, and even when they fight about stupid things, they're still able to love each other. For example, Michael and his wife fighting about taking out the trash. Ellen and Michael are great as they both deal with the internal conflict of what has happened. With Ellen, she has to wonder if she is crazy for believing a shark has a vendetta, but with Michael, he has to debate if it's a coincidence that this goes against science, which technically it does not go against science. The shark would actually be in the Bahamas, but inside the movie it goes against his science. Or if the shark theories that his mother is in his mother's head is right. Hoagie and Jake are just wonderful and funny. I wish they would have expanded more on Hoagie. I know in the novel, Hoagie actually has some drug running going on. That's what his laundry is. And Jake is just fucking hilarious. I love him. And Thea never really gets annoying. And for a kid in a horror movie, that's fucking wonderful. I love Thea always coming in and breaking up, always reminding Ellen, reminding her grandmother that your son is dead. And you can't get mad at her because she's a kid. She doesn't know any better but to, you know, ask about Sean. You know, when she comes in and goes, Sean's dead, you know. Is he ever coming back? Or when they're opening presents during Christmas, by the way, it's a goddamn Christmas and New Year's Eve movie. Suck it, Die Hard. You have her going, was Sean ever bad? Did you ever have to whip Sean? And like, so Ellen is constantly reminded of the tragedy that has just happened by this little girl that they can't really get on to because she doesn't really know better. She's a child. I could go on and on about the characters, but I'm going to stop. Kenneth, go ahead.
I give the character development an 8 also. I mean, I think this movie did a very good job of fucking expanding on what was going on. You know what I'm saying? I think that like you were saying, the pain of loss and things like that. I mean, you know, the mom having double time of what she's dealing with because she just lost her son, she's lost her husband, and it's all due to this fucking unfortunate family curse that they've got going with the sharks and so on, and the bringing back of characters and stuff like that. Like right when Sean dies, I mean, you see when they're in the house and stuff, and they're all sitting there hanging out. And she's outside looking at the water. You see what the Kettner mom?
Yes, Alex Kettner's mom is in there.
Yeah, and then you see the other lady, which was I think worked in Brody's office or something like that. You see people from the first 2 movies.
In fact, the guy who played Mayor Vaughn would have actually been in this movie, but he died right before filming to cancer.
That sucks.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think this movie did a great job of taking the characters, expanding on the lore, and keeping it rocking and rolling based on the story itself. I think it did a great job. So I come in with character development at an 8. I thought it was good.
Hell yeah, Jay.
I also gave it an 8. I really, there's actual development. First of all, we see the mom go from like quivering in fear to fucking badass by the end of the movie. We see her develop a whole new relationship. The older brother, he is the older brother, right? The older brother
Yes.
who lives in the Bahamas. We see him go through some shit with his wife and reconcile. Like, there's actual good character development in this, and I fucking love it. I thought everyone was written very well. The way the relationships play out, and we get to see the inner working and the minute details and stuff was really well done. So
yeah, and I
good
like
8
the
for me.
realism they bring to the characters, like just having jokes like Jake giving Michael that awful shirt and being like, "I hope your sex life is as busy as your shirt." Or, you know, the casual conversation Ellen has with Michael Brody's wife, Carla, about Hoagie. And, you know, and even Michael bringing up Hoagie to, like, Jake when they're chasing the shark because he's concerned about his mom. Like, all the dialogue in this movie is actually really well done. Hell, the conversation when Jake comes up from the when Michael comes up from the water and Jake's like, "Oh, we're working overtime, we're busting our ass, and we're fucking doing working on Christmas Eve because of you." And at that point, you're like, "Holy shit, bro! His fucking brother just died." And Michael calls out on him, and Jake's like, "Oh fuck, I'm sorry. I'm just fucking with you. You know we miss you," kind of thing. Like, it just feels really, really well done. All right, pacing and editing. I give this a 7. I feel like this movie moves along at the pace of a mild adventure. It has a tons to show you with the beauty of scenes spiced up with random shark action. Most of the shark scenes have editing that you can tell is hiding things, but at least it gives you better shots and actually moves along with the music way better. I feel like this movie does not move you along by just throwing you problem after problem after problem, but you guide along as you go through the scenery and you see the everyday lives of these characters as they deal with this shark when they're in the water. But when they're not in the water, they're dealing with like personal drama, and that all moves along very well and really helps the pacing. Kenneth.
I gave it an 8. I there was only maybe a couple of spots where I was just kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, even though it was good for the character development, the scene where Hogue and what's her name, the mom, Ellen, when they go to the dance thing and they're out on their little date or whatever. I mean, it was good for the character because she has that moment of, you know, realization of what's going on. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, she has one of those fucking ESP moments with the shark. But overall, I mean, other than that, I mean, the movie moves along pretty good, so I gave it an 8.
Yeah, I like that scene where Hoagie keeps telling her to kind of like, you need to get over this whole shark shit. And she's like, you promised me a drink. You need to get over this shark shit with an umbrella.
Yeah.
It's just really fun. Jay, what do you got for pacing and editing?
I gave it a 7. I tried really hard not to base my scores on Jaws 4 on how bad Jaws 3 was, and still try and keep it as objective as possible. But I had no real qualms with anything. The stories and whatnot that we get that don't revolve around the shark are interesting enough to keep it going, that I don't ever feel taken out of it. And it all comes together really well and helps with the character development that I like so much. So no problems, no real complaints. Solid 7 from me.
All right, we move on to atmosphere. I gave it a 6. It has an Adventure Island atmosphere, and it keeps up with that. It spices up with a bit of paranoia intrigue with the whole shark and Ellen Brody thing. I actually feel like I was pretty low on this, and I should have been higher. So if I was supposed to be higher, Kenneth will have ranked it higher. Go ahead, Kenneth.
I gave it a 7. I thought the atmosphere was fairly decent. I mean, I like the fact that you go completely from the darker, dismal, cold, rainy of Amity Island in the wintertime to the atmosphere of the Paradise Tropics. You know, and then when you get down there to the Paradise Tropics, it keeps it very well. And then also the dynamic shift when they're underwater and stuff like that. You still kind of have that tropic feel, but at the same time, it definitely gives you much more of the isolation feel when he's under the water and stuff like that than the third one did. So I came in with a 7. I thought the atmosphere was actually pretty spot on for what they were trying to do in this, even when it comes down to some of the lingering spots where you're like, where you can tell that Michael is in very, very deep thought and things like that. I think the atmosphere still stayed the same because the fact that he was in a paradise type area didn't ruin the extreme contemplation and tension that you could definitely feel coming off of him in the area.
Yeah, and they do a good job of enforcing that by showing him like hiding stuff from his mom and his wife and how it affects their conversations.
Right.
This is really well done. Jay, if I'm right about atmosphere that I should have scored a point higher, you also will have scored this higher than a 6. What did you give it?
I gave it an 8.
Yep, I see. I should have scored higher.
And the tension is fantastic in this movie. When he's down in the little submersible and the shark's coming after him, when we know the shark is around, and it's just like the tension is really good. And then, of course, anytime that we're not in a shark situation, the just whole Caribbean island, Bahamas feel is very well portrayed. So it was fantastic all around.
Nice. Okay, we move on to scenery and set design. I gave this an 8. Oh man, Amity looks great. It looks exactly what I think Amity would look like in the winter. It's actually nice to kind of see it in the winter compared to always seeing it like in the summer. And who doesn't want to see the beauty of the fucking tropics? The water looks crisp and clear. I want to be there. While there are no huge set pieces, the franchise isn't really known for huge set pieces besides, like, you know, SeaWorld. It's always been about, like, the natural look of wherever they are. Amity looks natural as to what a sea town would look like that makes its money off the summer. And the Bahamas looks like the fucking Bahamas. It's very much touristy. It's very much crystal clear water and beaches and fucking parties. And that's what we're looking for. This is a better advertisement for the Bahamas than Jaws 3D is for SeaWorld, to be honest.
Yes.
So I gave that an 8. Kenneth, where you at?
I'm also coming in with an 8, man. I thought the scenery and set design was great. I liked going back to Amity Island. I really enjoyed that. Because Amity Island, regardless of the time period that you're in, Amity Island has just got a look. It really does. It has that fucking it's that East Coast beach, but not, it's like that East Coast northern type Maine type area, you know what I'm saying? Even though I don't think Amity's up that far, but it may be. I can't remember exactly where Amity Island is, but it's got more of that, it's, how can I say it? It's like touristy and beachy, but fisherman-y at the same time.
Yes, exactly. It's got that East Coastal fisherman vibe.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it almost reminds me of that fucking town that they were in that movie Storm of the Century.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely got more of that look to it, and I actually like that for a movie that especially in the first 2 Jaws movies, for movies that do this kind of thing. And then, like you said, seeing the backside of it, where you get to see it during the wintertime, where it's cold and fucking snow and shit like that. Because most of the time when we think about beachside areas and shit like that, we don't think about fucking snow. You know what I'm saying? We always think about goddamn shit like the Bahamas, or Florida or California or places like that. You don't ever think about snow being on the fucking beach. So I really like the fact that they showed that to us. And then when you get down to the Bahamas, like Jerry said, I mean, it's the fucking Bahamas. You know what I'm saying? It's paradise. Clear water. It's fucking blue. You know what I'm saying? You hardly ever hear about a flesh-eating virus killing people. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, it's the Bahamas. So I came in with the scenery and set design at an 8. I thought it was good.
All right, Jay.
I also gave it an 8. Everything looked exactly how I would expect it to look. I actually grew up on the East Coast, so I got to see plenty of East Coast winters, and it was exactly like New England and those surrounding areas look in the winter. So that was absolutely spot on. I've never been to the Bahamas, but if I had to guess, that would be how it looks. But everything was really good. The club, bar, casino thing they were at looked really good. In the town when they were dancing, the beach house, everything just looked phenomenal.
Yep. Okay, we move on to acting. I gave it a 7. All the acting here is fine, with even the little girl doing a fine job. There are a few places, like Michael screaming Jake's name, where it does kind of fall off for a second. But other than that, I feel like everyone does a good job, and I really enjoy being part of it. Kenneth.
I gave it a 9. I thought the acting was great in this movie. I never felt like that the relationship between Ellen and Mike was not genuine. I never felt like the relationship between him and his wife was not genuine. I really like that. The relationship between Jake and his old lady, same thing. And then you got dude that played Hogue. His acting is always fucking good. Michael Caine, that's his name.
Yes, Michael Caine.
Yeah, his acting, man. I mean, I have never seen a movie with him in it that his acting wasn't good. You know what I'm saying? So I think overall, I think the acting all the way around was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. Never had a major problem with it. There was never a moment where anything took me out of the movie. I actually enjoyed all of it, so I gave it a 9.
Fair enough. Jay.
I gave the acting a 7 for some reason. That also seems wrong.
I feel like I should have scored higher also, if it makes you feel better. But like I said, I think I scored a point under in almost every category.
That's fair.
So
I really liked Michael Caine. I think everybody in general did a great job. trying to think if there's anybody I actually had a problem with, but I can't really think of anything. I mean, the shark was a little dry in some of its line delivery, but
All right, especially the roaring at the end of it.
yeah. But yeah, it was solid all around. No real complaints, but I guess a 7 is kind of a solid score. So yeah, that works.
Okay. Special effects, kills, and gore. I gave this a 7. There isn't a ton in this film, but what we do get, I feel, is pretty solid. I love the banana boat attack. It is one of my favorite shark attack scenes ever. I love the sunken ship chase. I think that's just a lot of fun. I do prefer the alternate end where there is no explosion, even if it does look, the shark looks pretty fucking terrible in that. I do like that better, though, because I like seeing the shark fall down, gliding down to the bottom with half the fucking front of the ship sticking out of it. So, and there's only technically 2 deaths in this movie. Sean Brody and then I think Margaret's mother or something like that, who dies on the banana boat. So very weak on actual attacks, but the movie is a psychological thriller type movie. It's not exactly supposed to have a bunch of kills. This isn't like, it's kind of the same way where like Nightmare on Elm Street a lot of times doesn't have a lot of kills in it, but like it makes up for it by having very creative kills. In this one, the kills are there more to help set up tension and have like some kind of personality to them. They're there to affect you in a way that's not, oh, that was a cool kill. It's more of like, oh shit, think how this fucking affects Ellen Brody. Every kill is there to set up to affect Ellen and Michael. So that's just kind of how I look at it. So I give it a 7. I actually do not feel I should have given it more. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if people gave this a little bit lower. I do think the shark looks better here than it does in part 3. Kenneth.
I came in with a solid hand job.
Yeah, hit him with that 7.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm in complete agreement with you. The fucking banana boat kill was fucking it was terrifying. I mean, it looked fucking great. But that was probably the shine of this. Sean's death at the beginning I thought was really cool. I think he delivered the terror of the fact that he was about to die very well, and then with his arm off and in the boat and stuff like that. God,
that black water with the red flashing light contrasting with his yellow coat. Oh, it looks so fucking good. The opening to this movie looks so fucking good. I love the title screen of Jaws of Revenge popping up in red on that black. It actually kind of reminds me of the opening for Ninja Turtles movies. Right.
I agree with you, but yeah, man. I mean, Sean's death was actually really terrifying. I would have to say his death was more scary. You know what I'm saying? Like from a deep recesses of your insides kind of thing. And then damn, girl on the banana boat's fucking death was just like, holy shit, fucked up. You know what I mean? And so like the combination of the two. So I got to give credit for both of those. And then I thought that it looked fairly well. The shark looks okay. You know what I'm saying? It definitely looks better than the 1 and 3. And even though you can kind of see the frame of it inside, but other than that, I mean so I gave it a 7. Good solid hand job. It's not bad.
The model for the shark was actually at Universal Studios all the way up until like 2002. It was kept outside on display. So there's a video you can watch on YouTube where this guy kept coming back to it every couple of years, and you'd see how much it deteriorated every single time until it was finally just gone in 2002.
I'll watch that.
It's very cool. There's also, I don't know if y'all have seen this, speaking of special effects, someone edited this movie where they took the shark scenes in it and took the fake shark out and put a real shark in.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, y'all should check that out. It's pretty neat. Jay, what did you have for special effects?
I gave it a 7. Most of it looked pretty good. There are some scenes with the shark, and I actually feel this way about the original Jaws too. But there's some scenes with the shark that just like it just looks like a shark prop, and there's no real getting around that, regardless of how well it's all done.
Agreed.
But overall, it's definitely enjoyable, and there's no There's nothing ripping me out of it. No effects that were like, oh god, now I know I'm in a shitty 3D movie. Definitely, yeah, but solid 7, easy.
At some point, your fake movie shark looks like a fake movie shark in your fake movie shark movie.
Right.
Like, that's just something you kind of have to accept, and it's there even in Jaws. That's why I don't get when people complain about Jaws, or even the original Godzilla, where they're like, oh yeah, well the suit just doesn't look good, or well the shark doesn't look good, and it's like,
What?
It's not real. The fuck do you want them to do? I don't understand it. Okay. We go on to Monster Killer. I gave this a 7. Say what you want, but I fucking love Psychic Shark. If this was a movie today, they would focus on the shark and its psychic ability so fucking much that it would come to the point of ridiculous. The shark would move its fucking fin and say red rum to you. But in this one, they left it all unsaid, and it's just for you to decide if Ellen is right or not. And Ellen and fucking Michael Brody basically doing the Danny Boyle fucking shine staring out is just fucking great. Them having dreams and having visions and like feeling the shark coming. You can notice Ellen like knows something is about to happen right before the banana boat gets hit. It's fucking great. I love the killer shark in this. It's absolutely fantastic. I feel like I even should have scored it higher once again, which makes me believe that both Kenneth and Jay will come up with a higher than a 7 for Psychic Shark. Kenneth, what did you come up with?
I gave it a 6.
Oh, but lower. Okay, shit. Damn. Okay,
Yeah.
fuck me.
Yeah, I gave it a 6. You know, I mean, I thought the shark was pretty good. The idea behind Psychic Shark, I actually was not bothered by at all. But you know, the reason why I gave it a 6 is just because of the way it looks. Sometimes, you know, like
it looks it looks dumb, and not like oh, that prop looks stupid, but more like when a dog just looks very dumb.
Yeah, kind of like that, like absent. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the scenes, like the biggest one that really did it to me was when Michael's inside the ship or whatever that's sunk at the bottom, and you see the shadow of the shark going over the top of it, and
Oh,
I'm looking
yeah.
at it, and I'm just like, there really is no personality to this thing. It looks like something is just pulling it through the water.
Yeah, at least it does have a little bit of tail movement, but it's cool when you watch that video I was talking about where they put the real shark in, and that one, the way the shark moves, and that one, it really makes you go, man, these fucking props were really stiff.
Yeah, I mean, so you know, there's this there's this shit about it that I was just, you know, it just looked kind of stale and whatever. But overall, I like the idea behind it, so I gave it a 6.
Yeah, well, stale bread is still bread. Jay, what did you give it?
I gave it an 8. I did end up higher on you.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the idea, and like you said, it's not cheesy. It's not sci-fi. Yes, it's cheesy. You can't have a psychic shark with a psychic connection to one of its victims without it being cheesy. But it's not cheesy in like sci-fi style cheesy. It's just it works. It works. They introduce it. They kind of put it out there, and then they kind of put it on the back burner, except for a few scenes, and it just works perfectly the way that it's done. So I absolutely love the concept of a shark that is linked to a family, trying to finish them off and following them all the way to a habitat it doesn't normally inhabit.
Nice. Okay. Another category we move into is hero. This one I also feel like I'm a point lower than I should be. I gave it a 7. Both Ellen and Michael do a good job of being likable and of killing the fucking shark. It's a great mother-son tag team battle. And now this movie doesn't really focus on them being heroes, but more of them just being regular people. They don't have to like overcome giant odds to win or anything like that. They just run the stupid boat into the stupid fucking shark and it dies. But I still think because of how likable and realistic they are, that I should have scored this higher, as they feel like much more natural heroes. Kenneth?
I gave the hero an 8. I think the reason why I gave it a high score is because I think the dynamic of them having to overcome their past to be able to get through this scenario. I mean, Mike in general, I mean, he may have been doing some stupid things, but he also had to get over his past to be able to, for him and his buddy to quote unquote study this thing, and then. Ellen having to get over everything that she was, even to get herself out on the boat when she went out there, and then having to get past the fact of, so many different things that she had to overcome. So I gave them both an 8. I actually thought they were fairly decent as heroes, and then, killing the shark at the end of it. So I thought gave it an 8.
Yeah, because you look at like the scene with Ellen building the sandcastle, and when she backs up into the water, she kind of like freezes and freaks out a little bit. Like she's terrified of that water. She has that dream of swimming in the water and being attacked. So for her to jump on a fucking boat and go pilot that shit,
Right.
I don't know how she knows how to drive a boat. I'm assuming Michael Myers taught her, because he knows how to drive everything apparently.
Dude, no. She grew up in a fucking beach town, boating town.
No, she did not.
She's lived there for a while.
She's lived there for a while, but she did not grow up there. Her and Chief Brody moved there. For his
whatever.
police
Either way,
job.
she's been there for a while. I assume she would have learned to.
She grew up in New York City.
All right. Well, I'm assuming she would have learned to drive a boat at some point.
Nope, she wouldn't have, because not long after them getting to Amity Island is when the incidents in Jaws 1 and Jaws 2 happen, and she never goes in the water.
Oh, all right. You win. Whatever.
Yeah, bitch. But anyway, Jay, what did you score Hero?
I gave it a 9. And it's all for the mom. I mean, the other guys are cool too, but the fucking mom, man, she just turns so fucking badass. She takes all of her fear and her anxieties and just fucking gives it to that shark. She's like, you know what? Fuck you, shark. And it's just such a satisfying moment to watch with her, the way her character development develops over the movie, and to end with her being able to deliver the final blow, explosion or not, just is fucking so satisfying.
I agree. By the way, I remember you asking, do they explain why the shark blows up? Yes, they do. When Jake and Brody and Hoagie arrive on the ship, Jake starts building that contraption and talks about how this will send shocks into the fucking shark by the reaction to it, and he says, and he actually mentions blowing it up. So it's like one line in there, but he does actually mention it. Also, in case you didn't know, the Jaws game for the original Nintendo is actually based on this movie. And it's a great fucking game that people shit on when they shouldn't, because it's actually like an early action RPG. So, fucking suck it, nerds. Okay. Score, soundtrack, and sound design. I gave it an 8. I fucking love this soundtrack. Now, to be fair, a lot of that is because they're reusing a lot of the original Jaws score, but there is some new music, and that eerie twinkling that has this mysterious feel they keep using when they like stare off into the water and shit. I fucking love that little score. It is absolutely wonderful. I would love to fucking use that in more movies. So I gave this an 8. It's just wonderful. Kenneth?
I gave it a 7. I mean, I thought the score was pretty good, using original Jaws tropes and stuff like that. I probably would have rated it 1 higher, just because I liked, same as you, I liked the little twinkling thing. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at on that. I gave it a 7. I thought it was pretty good.
I was trying to figure out how to describe that piece of music, and I was like, it fucking twinkles.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that me saying twinkle absolutely made you think of it. Jay, what did you have for score, soundtrack?
All right, so everybody knows I'm terrible with this category. I gave it a 6 just to try and keep it fair, because it was, again, nothing that stood out, but nothing that was really terrible or annoying or anything. So kept it at a 6, so it didn't throw off the scores.
Did you notice it was using original Jaws music?
I mean, don't both of them have the original theme or a variation of it at least?
Well, like besides the Donna, but like using the actual like adventure theme from the first movie.
Oh God, no! I would have never picked up on that. It's
okay.
been so long since I watched the first one.
No, not the Jaws theme, not that one. The fucking adventure one.
I can't get it in my head now.
Yeah, I'm bad with music, but okay. We'll move on to scare factor. I gave this a 5. This is actually not very scary to me since I'm not a Brody, and it's very unlikely that a supernatural shark is going to try to kill me and my family. It is kind of hard to put yourself into it, but in retrospect, I maybe should have scored this a bit higher when I think of it as like being a metaphor for grief and overcoming personal tragedy. And maybe scored it a little bit higher. This is kind of like if Hereditary was a shark movie.
Right.
You know?
I can get that.
Okay, well, what did you score it, Kenneth?
I gave it a 6. I mean, I thought the scare factor was okay. I think the biggest thing that got me is like the terrifying moments, like at the beginning when Sean dies and stuff like that. I mean, that was pretty terrifying. So but it wasn't, it was more of one of those things where it's like, I don't really feel unnerved throughout this movie. I actually just kind of enjoy watching it. And so it had elements of being scary, but it wasn't like overly, you know what I'm saying? Like, give me anxiety or anything else like that. It's more of it had scary moments, but I'm looking forward to the adventure of what's next.
Nice. Okay. Jay.
Scare factor, I gave a 7. There are some truly tense moments in the movie. I mean, even though we know that everyone's probably going to be okay. Even that opening scene, even though you assume that he's gonna eat it, they did a really good job with the tension, and that helped me convey the fear that the characters would have been feeling. So solid 7 from me.
Nice. All right, we move on to entertainment rewatchability. I gave it an 8. Besides the first, this is my second most watched movie in the franchise. I just have a good time with it. The setting is fun, the adventure feel is great, and I really love the characters. Like, I probably, if I watch Jaws once or twice a year, I probably watch Jaws of Revenge, if not once a year, once every other year. I know I've actually watched Jaws of Revenge 3 times this year already. I've actually watched
Nice.
Jaws of Revenge more than Jaws this year because I've watched Jaws twice and I've now watched Jaws of Revenge 3 times. So, because I watched them all back in October, and then I watched Jaws and Jaws of Revenge over the summer, and then I just watched Jaws of Revenge again for this. So, bam. And I had fun every single time watching Jaws of Revenge. Kenneth, entertainment rewatchability.
I gave it an 8.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoy watching this movie, and I probably would definitely watch it if I came across it on TV. And it's probably one of those movies that I'll probably end up watching again sometime this year. I actually really enjoy it. It's a good movie. It keeps me entertained, so I give it an 8.
Yeah, I'm adding it to my Christmas watch this year. So,
Cool.
yeah. Jay, what did you give it?
So I gave it a 6, and this is kind of one of those categories that is hard to be objective on, so it just comes down to like personal.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I've never really had a drive to watch the Jaws movies at all. This one was better than 3, and I would watch it over 3. If I was in the mood for shark movies, I gotta watch 2 to know how I feel about it, but I'd watch 1, 2, and 4. But they're just, in general, shark movies aren't something I seek out. I kind of get in the mood for something along those lines every now and then. But it's not one that I would personally choose over some of the other stuff that I own.
That's fair. Okay. Pop culture. I gave it an 8. Known as one of the worst films of all time, and the worst in the Jaws franchise, which I highly disagree with, it has become synonymous with bad movie sequels. But I think truly it's that people can't get over the psychic shark angle. If they did, they will realize it's a very fun movie. In fact, I hear all the time how this movie was a bomb, but it actually made money at the box office, making over double its fucking budget. So go fuck yourself. The movie did not flop. It did not bomb. No Jaws movie bombed. They all made fucking money. And I would say, while doubling your box office isn't, blowing it out of the water. Most of the time when you buy something to resell it, you're looking to make double your money. So therefore, the movie did very well at theaters. And like I said, it has this stigma where people would rather shit on it because of how'd the shark follow them from fucking Amity to the Bahamas, blah, 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 instead of actually giving it a chance and realizing that once you just accept the psychic shark, you can then move on to the next stage of realizing that this is a fucking thriller that deals with loss and grief and deals with the mental stress of having to deal with everything and overcoming your fears. There are literally lines in the movie that directly talk about that. Like Ellen straight up tells Michael that she's no longer going to let the tragedy and fear run her life. Like, they put so much of it right in your face, but no one hears any of that important shit because they're just like, ho ho ho, fucking the shark followed them from New York, get out of here. It's so fucking stupid. I hate it. It pisses me off, and I don't like it. Kenneth.
I give the pop culture status a 7. I mean, again, it's one of those things that I don't know a whole lot about from personal, you know what I mean? But you know, the same things that Jerry said. It's got this movie catches such a bad rap, and it shouldn't, because it's actually a very decent movie. It's fun to watch. It's entertaining. It's got decent effects. I mean, you know, it's got a good story to it that definitely makes up. It picks up where the other ones left off. I mean, it's a good movie. I honestly think that if the same movie were made today with the craze that we're getting now, where they're omitting things in the middle, I don't think it would catch such a shitty fucking thing as it did when it came out.
Yeah, it would be just another Ghost Shark or something like that, where they're just like, oh yeah, look at this fun sci-fi fucking stupid shark movie. Let's drink and have fun.
Yeah, I don't think it would catch nearly as much shit as it did for the time.
Yeah. Jay, what did you have?
So again, this is a category that I felt I had to be even and fair in, because the same reasons I gave Jaws 3 a 5, I gave this one a 5, because I'm just not familiar enough with these and their place within the horror universe and pop culture in general. I don't think it would be fair for me to score them anything but the same, just because of my lack of knowledge.
That's fair. Okay, last category we have is representation of its subgenre or horror in a whole. I gave this a 5. This is not one I would use to represent this genre. It also shows the move away from it just being a normal shark. After this, all the sharks have to have something. Here it's being psychic, and Shark Attack and Deep Blue Sea, they have been modified with science, and soon it's multiple heads and weather combos. I do think it shows the adventure side of a creature feature very well, but that's about it. Other than that, this kind of shows... Now, technically, there were movies beforehand that did do, like, genetically modified monsters. Like, there's Devilfish, which is basically Sharktopus before Sharktopus. That happened before this movie. But nonetheless, this is, like, where we really get, like, there's something abnormal or supernatural about the shark in question. So I gave it a 5 because I would not show this to represent the genre. Kenneth, what did you do?
I gave it a 7 because even though you've got those things in there that people always, you know, are going to question and stuff like that, as a representation of the horror genre, I think it takes some of the tropes and I think it puts them in there. And if you can watch this movie and think outside the box a little bit, like we've talked about before, I think it does a fairly good job of representing the you know, the, how can I put it? I think it does a good job of representing horror in itself because of if you really take a look at all the horror movies that we've watched and things like that, some of them out there get very ridiculous. I don't think this one gets that far out into the ridiculous level. There's a couple of things, obviously, that are questionable, you know, like the shark following them all the way down to the Bahamas in the span of an airplane ride. And then, you know, and then the psychic thing about it. But, you know, if you really take the time to think about it, how far-fetched do we actually get a lot of times when we're watching these kinds of movies? I mean, you know, you can use very, very very realistic fucking examples of what we watch as horror fans, and then you can take things that are absolutely outlandish. I mean, for instance, you take the lore of the Leprechaun, and then look at what we got when we decided to make a fucking horror Leprechaun movie. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I mean, when it really comes down to it, when you're representing the horror genre with this movie, is it really that big of a deal to choose this one to go at it? Because the special effects aren't bad like they were in the third one. You know what I'm saying? That is a bad representation of the horror genre, because some of the movies out there that we love and care about have amazing special effects. So would you want somebody to watch Jaws 3D, or would you want them to watch Jaws 4 if you had to pick between the two of it to represent? And the same thing when you're representing the genre of shark movies. This movie, to me, definitely has a level of seriousness that people really throw to the wayside, like what Jerry was bringing up. This movie, people fucking disregard it because of just those main two key factors, when there's actually a lot of personal drama going on in this movie. So it definitely has the seriousness, and before it gets way out there silly. I mean, you take the psychological thing of a psychic shark, and then you pin that up between goddamn sharks getting sucked up into a fucking tornado and thrown all over a town. And they survive when they're fucking spinning around in this goddamn tornado. How they do that outside of the water or whatever, it's fucking baffling to me. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, really, you want to talk about silliness? Let's talk about silliness. So as a representation of the horror genre and as a representation of shark creature features, I don't think it does an absolutely terrible job by any means. So it's got a classic hand job for me.
All right, Jay.
Give me 1 second. Sorry, my Notepad app is based on the internet and it froze, so I needed to pull it up on my drive. Representation, I gave it a 7, and I have absolutely no way that I can follow Kenneth with anything that'll help add to what he just said. It was good. It's a good shark movie. I would put it in a list of shark movies if people were like, "Hey, what's a good shark movie?" I would definitely recommend it way more than I would Part 3. And way more than any of those like really bad CGI sci-fi crazy giant shark movies. So yeah, solid 7.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to bring up before we get out of here, well, I guess let me do the scores real quick. I came in at the lowest at 103, and like I said throughout this whole thing, I felt like I should have been a point higher on a lot of these. Jay came in the middle with 107, and Kenneth came in at the top with 111. Jaws 4, Jaws of Revenge is the clear winner here. But before we get out of here, I want to bring up something. People talk about this movie where the shark wouldn't follow a family down the Bahamas. A shark also wouldn't swim into SeaWorld to take revenge for its fucking baby shark that just died, that it did not know died. That's bullshit. But one of the complaints people have about this movie is the end of the movie where the shark roars. And I just want to point out that the shark roars in every single Jaws movie. Even in the original Jaws, there's a scene where as it's breaching the water and eating the rope, trying to get back to the fucking boat, and where Hooper and Brody are trying to untie the rope because it's pulling off the pleats, and Quint shoots it in the head. There's a scene, and I posted it in our Facebook group already. It's already there because I posted it yesterday, I think, where you can hear the shark as it comes out of the water. There is a fucking growling noise. And then at the end of Jaws, we all remember as the shark is dying, floating down from exploding, there are dinosaur roars. There's no explanation for why those are there except to be a death growl to make you feel sorry for the shark to improve the scene. And that's what all the shark roars in the Jaws movies are. They're there to indicate that it's a monster, for you to understand that it is a monster, that it's animalistic, and it is in every Jaws movie. It growled in Jaws fucking 3. I did not double check to see if it growled in Jaws 2. Someone else brought up that it does. I forgot to go check, but I did double check. There are growls twice in the original Jaws. There is a fucking growl in Jaws 3, and there's obviously the biggest one in this one. And this one is the one that always catches it.
In part 2, I think it did too, and it's getting fried.
Yeah, exactly. And I had when I brought up that all my personal Facebook page, I made a post that all the Jaws Revenge reviews on YouTube are trash, and someone's like, well, I mean, it's a fucking shark roaring, and I'm like, almost every Jaws movie has that. The original Jaws had it. And the guy replied, the shark did not scream in the original Jaws. I went and found a video. It does. But I brought up, they played the roars as it was dying. Go back and watch it sink. That's not the shark roaring. Well, what the fuck is it? So I was like, well, what do you think it is? Random roaring in the soundtrack? His reply is, Steven Spielberg did not make the stupid decision to have the shark be silent the entire movie, only to start roaring once his mouth was blown up. Well, I found a video where it roars earlier in the movie, but whatever. So I said, then what is the roaring? What is the logical explanation? Look, Jaws is my favorite movie of all time and has been since I was 4. But let's be honest, the roaring as the shark sinks never made sense. It seems like it's there to be a death cry of a shark to invoke an emotional response from the audience. This guy never responded back. Jonathan Tohoscope, he ended up chiming in. He's from the Late Night Psychorama podcast. Check them out. They're fucking awesome. They cover some fucking movies, horror movies that I haven't even fucking seen. So that's fucking impressive to me. And he says, there is no logical explanation to the shark roaring at the end. It was added merely as a way to set the mood to the death scene. He did the same thing with the truck and duel, which backs up what I had just said, that it's there to invoke an emotional response from the audience.
It's just, and even at that, if you think about the at the end of Duel, the truck screaming and stuff like that, hell, the same thing fucking happens. And this ain't Steven Spielberg, but the same thing happens when the truck gets shot at the end of Maximum Overdrive. You know, it's a fucking truck, but it still makes a roaring sound when it gets fucking blown up at the end of that movie. And that's exactly what it's there for. It's what it's what you said it was there for. It's to invoke an emotional response from us, to us be just like, oh, or whatever, or be like, or have a yay or whatever it is, you know, when you know this thing is dying. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's exactly what it's there for.
And in Jaws 3, the shark swims backwards. Sharks cannot swim backwards. The shark in Jaws 3, when it dies, the baby shark, it floats. Sharks do not float. And that's even worse in fucking Jaws 3D, because they're supposed to be, one of the characters is a goddamn marine biologist.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching some of the special behind the scenes stuff for that movie that's on YouTube, which I don't know why there's all this special behind the scenes stuff on YouTube for the movie, but they didn't put it on the Blu-ray. Makes no fucking sense to me. But in there, one of the guys was talking about, yeah, someone did their research. This movie is really accurate. And I'm like, nah, just no. It's fucking not. The shark would not seek revenge for its child. It would try to eat its child. Sharks cannot swim backwards. That is just as big of an impossibility as they cannot fucking roar. So I don't know why people always let that go. Shit, Deep Blue Sea made fun of it. By saying, oh, well, these ones can do it because they're genetically modified. You know, so, like, to me, like, a lot of the complaints, almost every complaint I hear about Jaws of Revenge is clearly there in Jaws 3D also, but just slightly tweaked differently. Like, oh, the shark wouldn't chase a family all the way to the Bahamas. Okay, a shark wouldn't seek revenge for its child, and how did it even know its fucking child died?
Right.
Unless there's a connection there. Oh, well, the shark fucking roars in Jaws the Revenge. It roars in fucking Jaws 3D also. And on top of that, it swims fucking backwards. Also, in Jaws 3D, it swims without moving its fucking tail. Multiple times. It just fucking glides along. And it can't do that. Also, it hits the glass and just fucking stops.
Yep, that's what I'm saying, man. It fucking damn, that, to me, that was a lot of the bullshit, man. It's damn, just, it felt like every single scene with the shark in Jaws 3D was fucking, they're just pulling a rubber shark through the water.
Yeah, so it's always bothered me how people shit on Jaws of Revenge. It will not, like, open up and look at this movie. And there's something that Kenneth once said that I try to apply to a lot of movies now, where it's just like, you're not watching it from the right perspective. You got to watch it from this perspective. And he told me this while we were talking about Hellraiser movies. and how you have to watch. Kenneth, you said you have to watch each Hellraiser movie from the main character's point of view because it's their perspective of what hell is. That's what the whole movie is about.
Right. You know, like you got the first two Hellraiser movies, and the first movie is from, mainly the first movie is from what's her name, the bad bitch, Julia. Yeah, the first movie is mainly from Julia's perspective. You know what I'm saying? And it's got to do with Julia and Frank, but the majority of the movie is from Julia's perspective. The second movie has got a lot to do with fucking Kirsty's perspective and Julia mixed together. And then as you go down the line, I mean, the third one, the fourth one, I mean, you got each different one, the main character, that's who it's based off of.
Yeah, exactly. And so with Jaws of Revenge, I highly recommend rewatch this movie. Just accept that the shark has a psychic connection with the Brodies. Just accept it.
Right. I don't see. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Then watch the movie and watch it from the same way you would watch Hereditary. And I know there's people out there that are rolling their fucking eyes because I made this statement that Jaws of Revenge is Hereditary with a shark. But they both deal with the loss and grief and tragedy of dealing with a family member dying. But in that one, in Hereditary, it has the occult wrapping around it. In this one, it's psychic shark. Both have to deal with like this supernatural element to it. But if you watch Jaws of Revenge, that's what if the way me, Kenneth, and Jay have explained Jaws of Revenge tonight does not make you want to go and rewatch that movie and try to watch it from that perspective, then you just want to hate Jaws of Revenge to hate Jaws of Revenge because it's a cool thing to do on the internet. Flat out, period. Jay, what were you gonna say?
Shit.
Yeah.
I was gonna agree with you. Basically, is where I was going with it. That the Jaws of Revenge is absolutely a good movie about the plot revolving around grief and whatnot. What I was gonna say is, I don't understand how people have a problem accepting that the shark is psychic when that basically almost any movie is about accepting whatever plot and universe you're presented with. We watch Marvel movies not going, man, if his hammer could conduct lightning, he'd probably electrocute himself. We go, he's a god who can control lightning. I understand that, so the rest of the movie makes sense. If the plot of this movie is the shark and the family have some sort of supernatural connection, why can't you just accept that and watch it? The whole purpose of fictional stories, the whole basis behind them being entertaining, is the ability to suspend our disbelief. If some are more grounded in reality, some are more fantastical. We have a guy who may have died as a child, who then may not have come back to life, who may have been living in the woods as a child to his 20s or 30s, who is ridiculously strong, not a zombie, takes several amounts of damage that would have killed a normal person, actually dies, and then gets electrocuted by lightning and comes back to life as some kind of supernatural zombie who can only actually be killed by his family later on. And we accept all of that, and we praise the Friday the 13th series as amazing slashers. But a shark that's going after a family is too much to take? That doesn't, I don't
Yeah, more people are willing to accept that vaccines cause autism than the possibility of a fucking movie dealing with a psychic shark being good. It fucking kills me. But some people don't get the psychic part of it. Another guy on my Facebook said, revenge is pretty terrible. Why the hell would a shark stalk their family and follow them to the Bahamas or whatever it was? 1 and 2 were definitely great though. So I replied, the shark is supernatural in this film. They lay it out pretty clear and yet no one understands it. In fact, most of the flaws people call out in this movie are in the third film as well. And our worst there is that movie is set in to be realistic as far as the killer shark film can be. And Revenge is not set up to be realistic, but with supernatural and psychic elements. He replied, really? I totally never picked up on any supernatural goings on. That's just ridiculous then. The third film is awful, yeah. I know it was early 3D, possible the first 3D film, which it is nowhere near the first 3D film. I don't know where the fuck he got that. But I just can't bear to watch the shark explode at the end. Well, the shark explodes in 3 out of the 4 fucking movies.
Yeah.
Anyway, the shark can't swim backwards either, can they? It does that in the third film, probably Revenge 2 after the wreck underwater bit. I do want to point out, in Jaws of Revenge, the shark we never see the shark swim backwards, but there are areas where you would kind of have to go, I think the shark would have to swim backwards to get out of there, but they never actually show it. So, but yeah, and to be fair, there is that fucking ending. So, with that being said, I think we're done here. We've covered Jaws 3 and Jaws of Revenge, so I think we're good. Go rewatch Jaws of Revenge, obviously, and we will see y'all in September. Anyone got any parting words?
Watch Jaws the Revenge, guys. It's good.
Yeah. Kenneth?
Make sure that you fill the grave back in when you steal the corpse.
That is very smart. Cover your tracks. You can catch us in all the regular places. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Links are all in the description. So check that shit out. We will see y'all fucking soon. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I was really, really happy to do this, and I really like the way this has turned out so far. So thank you guys for coming and covering this ridiculous Horror Coliseum with me. And thank you, listeners, for checking it out and supporting us. We love all of you. And that's fucking it. Keep on fucking watching horror movies out there, people. Later.
Astroglide makes my dick burn.
If you enjoyed this show, then make sure you check out the other great shows on the Legion Podcast Network, like Cinema Psyops, Cinema Beef, Devour the Podcast, Duncan and Bo Come Correct, Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, Friday the 13th, Get Slayed, The Hellming Power Hour, Hello, This is the Doom Show, Hero Hero Ghost Show, Kill the Cast, Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space, Jerry Hates Action, Legion After Dark, Mental Health, Obsessive Cinema, Discourse, Pick 6 Movies, the podcast by The Cemetery, the podcast on Haunted Hill, the Psychosemantic Podcast, Rick Radio, House of Wax, Dude Looks Like the 80s, Rabbit and Red Radio, the Shadecast, Short Bus Cinema, 2 Drink Minimum Commentaries, the VD Clinic, Who Will Survive Horror Podcast, and Witch vs. the Doomsday Clock. With such a wide spread of shows, there is guaranteed to be a niche for you to fall in love with. Horror, politics, movies, books, sex, music, commentaries, health, video games, kaiju, action, news, comedy, and opinions that would most likely get you killed in some parts of the world. We are proud to bring you some of the best podcasting in the world. Check us out at www.legionpodcast.com, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and any other dark corner of the internet where podcasts can be found.